Thank you, and thank you everyone for coming tonight. I know it's all a bit of a different time for us. I may have seen some of you in London or Manchester or Edinburgh. I've actually done a few of these. So if it's your first time, welcome to the Volition. If it's not, very happy to give you an update on where we are. First of all, I'll make some forward-looking statements. And so if you have a chance, this is also on our filings on the website. So I guess we always start just with the elephant in the room at the moment. Where are we with COVID? What have we been doing? How has it affected us? I'm very happy to say non-laboratory staff have been working remotely and have all been very well. A very large facility of 20,000 square foot has fully operational and has been at or near capacity since the outbreak. And in Belgium, as you cannot obviously work from your laboratory from home, as we're very socially distanced and it's a big facility, we can continue on with that. We've been going on with our small and large studies, and I'll get over a summary of them. And we've kept on with our ongoing collections in Taiwan. That's all the good side. I'm very, very happy and proud of how our team has been going in Belgium and the other areas. But there have been some risks. Obviously, it could change. We may end up having some problems and have to close some or all of our facilities, but as of now, that has not happened. And there's been some slowing down of the supply chains with some of our key components, particularly in the last couple of months as the pandemic continues and the lockdowns continue. And one of our studies has been paused in the US, our colorectal study. But overall, I think the team's done an amazingly good job of keeping operational at near capacity and keeping to our milestones. We've also raised a lot of capital during this time to make sure we have everything completely on track. Obviously, there was a problem with COVID and the pandemic and lockdowns, but it's also potentially an opportunity. Those who've been following us know what we do is not a virus. We use chromatin fragments to look for cancer. But it turns out what kills you in COVID, there are three things which the body does in response to COVID. And like any other virus, first of all, the body increases your temperature as a fever, trying to kill the virus, which is good if it works, and obviously not good if it hurts or kills you. Then the body can release antibodies, and also the third thing, which is only really understood in the last few years, is the body releases NETs, N-E-T-S, neutrophil extracellular traps, to try to trap the virus. It's the acronym is NETs because it actually looks like a net, and also has maltoperoxidase and other things on the edges, almost like a jellyfish stinger, to also try and poison the virus. That's all very well and good, and it's a fantastic defense mechanism, unless, of course, you get too much of it. And what happens in COVID, like many other diseases, is if it goes wrong, you get a feedback loop, also known as a cytokine storm, where more and more and more nets are produced, which is actually what clogs up your lungs and your other organs. So that's actually what does kill you. And so we thought back in March we could use our current assays and tests to see as a diagnostic and or prognostic for COVID. Now, there's a lot of diagnostics out there. A diagnostic will tell you, do you have COVID or you do not have COVID? What a prognostic does is tell you how bad it's going to be. So you're also probably very familiar. A lot of people get very mild symptoms and some get very bad symptoms. And knowing which one of those two you're going to be or where you are on that continuum is extremely useful for doctors. So what we started with was just, could we tell COVID from healthy to see if we could make a prognostic. And those results came out a few months ago, and they're absolutely fantastic. We had a 98.7 accuracy level on telling COVID from healthies. But that's a diagnostic, not a prognostic. A prognostic, you're telling COVID from COVID how bad you're going to get. The next level of the trial we announced a few months ago was to show, could we tell differences between different levels of severity. Those in intensive care, the results with those intensive care had very, very high results. Those who had COVID but were in a normal ward, in hospital, so they're still sick and they're not asymptomatic, but they're sick in hospital, had a medium level, and then people who had COVID but didn't know they had it, or low symptoms, were very low. So it absolutely followed disease progression, which looks to be a very, very useful marker as a prognostic, where you are in how early can you tell you're getting the symptoms, how bad are you going to get. So we're in the stage now of securing the longitudinal samples, tracking those same things in the same person, a lot of samples from the same person as they get better or as they get worse, better. And we're in the process of doing that now, as retrospectively and prospectively. We'll have a lot more data. People might wonder why we're bothering. Is it near the end of the pandemic? One thing to remember with this, we're not measuring COVID, we're measuring the body's reaction to COVID. And it's exactly the same reaction which kills you in influenza, causes very big problems in sepsis, diabetes, and a range of other areas. So we're looking to see if we can help, our assays can help in any of those areas as well. And we'll have a lot more data very soon. And if it continues to the last phase, we intend to launch a product, and that should be a good prognostic for the NETosis nets, which is again what kills you in COVID, but also a very wide range of other very, very common conditions which have no diagnostic or prognostic now. So we're very excited about this. It fits our formula of developing a fantastic platform and seeing where it can be used, and we should have a lot more data very soon. But something we're very excited about from the COVID as well as the other condition side. So we thought, what can we do during COVID to make sure we get through all this? One of them is securing the supply of our key components, and we only really have two key components, the controls and the antibodies. We've always been contract manufacturing our own antibodies, and in January, as luck would have it, we actually worked to secure the other side of it, the controls, with our purchase of Optima, and we're just in the final stages now of purchasing a large production facility of 10,000 square foot. It's actually called Silver One, and that's going to be opening very soon, and that'll be a production hub, a service hub, and secure the supply of our antibodies and controls. And it's right next to our current 20,000 square foot lab in Belgium. So, and again, we got very good support from the local authority, so it hasn't cost us a lot in real terms to get a brand new facility and deck it out. We'll have a lot more news on that soon as well. We have one simple mission, which is to save lives, and we're doing that through our epigenetic platform, which is again very well developed now and can be used in a very wide range of areas, as I'll show. This is a photograph of our main research and development facility. Again, almost brand new, fully decked out 3 years ago for our facility, and there are now about 35 people in that facility developing our products. Just a quick summary of the financials. We're listed on the New York Stock Exchange. People say, why New York? It's just a great market, and it's the world's biggest healthcare market, so it keeps us close to our biggest clients. Our symbol is VNRX. We've been on New York Stock Exchange now, I guess, for 5 years now. It's been quite a while. We've had a range of prices, as you see there. We have a low burn rate, as you can see, and we had cash on hand of 21 million at the last quarter, plus additional funds we have raised meantime, so it's about 25 million. So we've got a long runway compared to where we normally have to get all these milestones completed, which I'll go through. We're in very good financial health. So what are the milestones? We are a very, very ambitious company. We think the epigenetics platform we've been developing is useful in a very, very wide range of areas. As we said, in a wide range of cancers, in humans and in dogs, and the adaptability of it is also being shown during the COVID pandemic, and we have a fantastic IP platform. So we've been working on different ways of delivering that platform. Every one of these is low cost, easy to use, and just a tiny drop of blood. The very simplest platform is a plastic microtiter plate. We're just in the very final stages of CE marking the first one for the European market, as for the triage market, as you can see there. And we have large ongoing studies in colorectal and lung, and we'll be announcing some in blood soon. Blood cancers, that is. They're all blood tests, but these are blood cancers. The multi-well plate is the simplest platform. We've also adapted it now to the fully automated autoanalyzers. We now have a very wide range of different targets on the nucleosomes, Again, that platform is also locked down. We're doing a large number of the markers on there, so we can have a suite of different tests and different assays. And we'll be doing medium and large studies on that throughout next year, and longitudinal studies, and we have a lot of licensing opportunities. Our platform is incredibly broad, incredibly useful, and we think we're not going to in any way, shape or form be able to commercialize the entire platform. So we're going to be launching our own products, but we also aim to quite aggressively license worldwide. We also have 2 other programs going, UQ Capture, which is a more sophisticated platform than our microtiter plates with the beads, where we capture the nucleosomes and do mass spec and sequencing. That's quite a complicated one. I won't get too much into depth here, but we think it's a very, very powerful platform that will really help to get the very heart of epigenetics, and a very strong licensing opportunity. And we'll have more data on that later this year and through next year. Vet, I'll go through that now. We're right on the verge of launching our first ever products in the veterinary space. It's extremely exciting. We've published our first papers. We'll process samples. We're about to launch the first product, and the data will be launched at the VCS conference, which is the world's biggest veterinary oncology conference, and it'll be virtual this year. So Dr. Wilson Rowe will be presenting that data this Friday and Saturday, so you'll see that very soon. And then we have a capital markets day on Tuesday, where we're going to outline the rollout plan and hear why we think this product could be a real big seller, a very good seller, and also what the market is and the potential. And we look to launch other products. And again, licensing opportunities are huge, because it's not just dogs, it's also potentially any other animal as well. It's working almost exactly the same as in humans as in dogs. So the investment highlights, a quick summary. We're an epigenetics healthcare company, as I said, using blood-based tests. We believe that simple to use blood tests are the best way, the only way of getting compliance. Compliance is just a way of saying basically people who do the test above 80%, and that makes perfect sense. If you have a test that's part of your normal blood work, it doesn't cost much money, you're very, very likely to have it. If it's a complicated, expensive test, it's invasive, that you don't want to take, you're not likely to take it. So, and the accuracy of the tests which you don't take is very easy to work out. It's exactly 0. We have an incredibly broad intellectual property portfolio, including 53 granted patents, and basically we really dominate this space, and epigenetics are becoming incredibly important. We have proof of concept data on our plate assays in lung, colorectal, and blood cancers, which I'll get to later. And we have a lot of other tools, including UQ Capture. And we formed in October, just on 12 months ago, our Volition Vet subsidiary, which I'll go through a bit more later, which is getting very close to launching product. And again, we acquired our first company in January, which was securing our supply of reagents when we bought Optima in now named Volition Germany. So we've spent the last 3 years re-engineering and fully optimizing all aspects of our assays, and all the processes now are fully locked down. We've gone through a lot of proof of concept studies and finalized the assays in a range of cancers, and we're in the process of doing that now. We have a very large scale trials being collected for us in US and Asia, which have about half or more collected, just under 15,000 samples, including the 2 of them, and a large lung study underway in Taiwan for lung cancer, and UQ Capture, which I mentioned, and UQ Vet and COVID, which again, all these just roll off the tongue, but each one is potentially absolutely massive. COVID, for understandable reasons, and it's a serial, bring a prognostic, you'd have it 5 or 10 times while you're in hospital. Vet, there's tens of millions of dogs around the world, and just including the US alone. And colorectal cancer screening is massive. If you look at a company like Exact Sciences, have about 5% of the colorectal screening market in the US, and their primary product, their market cap is about 12 billion. So potentially huge products for us to be launching. So just a quick outline of what it is we do and what are nucleosomes for those of you not familiar with our company. On the left-hand side, you probably see the chromosome, the DNA strand. If you unravel it, it's about 5 feet long. It's really tightly bound. every 150 base pairs or thereabouts is a nucleosome, which you can see represented in blue in the center there. This controls all the epigenetic information. What is epigenetics? Epigenetics literally means above genetics, genetics being your DNA. You think of it this way, your epigenetics is the software in the computer sense, and the genetics is the hardware. And both can go wrong, both are very important, but all the focus has been on the genetics, the DNA, where the epigenetics, which is what we look for, is now known to be incredibly important. And as you probably know with your computer, what mostly goes wrong, it's your software, not your hardware. So we have a real suite of assays now which can measure incredibly important structures on the nucleosome. The one before was more, I guess, cartoon-like. This is shows the complexity of what a nucleosome is. The 4 histones in the center, which are doubled to 8, and the very large tails of histone modifications. This is the real building block of a very large amount of living things. And the miswiring on this, missignaling control makes cells reproduce, which is the heart of cancer. And these are the heart of the body's defense mechanism in COVID as well, which is why we can measure them so easily with our assays. So this is what at the heart of what we do, the nucleosome. We are the company which dominate this field. We've been doing this 10 years now. Very cutting edge, but a very simple method of measurements. We use the ELISA platform because these are so common in the blood of cancer patients, COVID patients, dogs, humans, and pretty much most living things, that they can be measured with a very simple platform, which we want to keep very low cost and very easy to use. So a quick summary of intellectual property. As I said, a huge list of patents. This is our team in Belgium. Very, very happy and proud of the work they've been doing. They're really at the cutting edge and going to make a very big difference to humanity. Data. We've had excellent data, AUCs in the 80s and 90s and 70s, 80s and 90s, just for the very few simple assays we've developed. So very good data. And these are on small trials. We're running big trials now and more assays. We've published 3 abstracts at ASCO, the American Society of Clinical Oncologists. So we're starting to aggressively do posters and publish now because we're extremely happy with our platform and what we can do. Just a quick summary of Volition Vet, and please keep your eyes out. This is very big news for us. We've said all along, if we can get a test in the 80% range in the vet market, because it's low cost, easy to use on our platform, we'll have a very good product. So again, we formed a subsidiary. Our collaborators there at Texas A&M, one of the world's biggest vet schools. Now it's Professor Wilson Robles as our Chief Medical Officer, and she works at Texas A&M. We're looking to price at the higher end of our range of $150 to $200, which gives a very, very strong gross margin, which we'll outline in the Capital Markets Day. In the US alone, there are 6 million cancers diagnosed in dogs per year, a lot more than humans, as you can see, more than 3 times. So a massive potential market, and one which is very, very underserved. There are almost no markers at all in the dog space or the animal space, and it's very hard to scan a dog because they don't stand still or sit still. So a huge market and a very similar price point to which we charge for the human market, and much easier to launch because you can do smaller trials and you can work with a group like Texas A&M to launch your products. So our aim is a big one. We want to become the leading epigenetics company. We've now developed a very stable platform, which we can ship worldwide for areas as diverse as all the cancers we've looked at, things like COVID, and we think potentially a lot of other things in the net space, as I outlined. So it's been a path now of 10 years of developing the platform. Now we're ready to push it out in a wide range of products. And the team has done a fantastic job keeping all this going during the lockdowns. That's a quick look at our team in our lab in Belgium. Thank you very much for interest. I'll keep it short so that I have questions, but please do keep an eye out for the Capital Markets Day on Tuesday, where we'll outline the fantastic potentials and the launch of our vet products, and then going through the plan for our human products as well. We're seeing extremely similar results in humans and dogs from exactly the same assays, so very exciting. Okay, I'd like to now open up to questions.
First up, do you have any revenues, and how far off are revenues?
No, nothing substantial. We have bits and pieces, but nothing material. in the company where we are. So we're planning on launching the vet products, you'll see, later this year. And hopefully soon after that, the first COVID products. And after that, the rest of the cancers, which we've been working on for a long time now, but they're much bigger trials and more complicated products. So we expect to get the very small amounts of revenue this year, but steadily build up through next year and 2022 in a range of different areas, also from our products, but also from licensing. There's no way we can commercialize this platform. Our IP is basically every disease with every structure of the nucleosome in every body fluid and every living thing. So it's not something we're going to do ourselves for a lot of them, but we want to prime the pump with our own products and then license quite heavily.
Okay, next up, is there a competing alternative to your dog test? And what are your product's advantages versus the alternatives?
Very good questions. Short answer is no, but the long answer is Dr. Wilson Robles, who's one of the world's leading experts in the vet space, who has been developed this product with us, will outline that fully on Tuesday in the Capital Markets Day and answer the questions directly. But she's very excited and thinks it's a really good product. As I said, there's really no markers that work in the oncology space in the veterinary, particularly in dogs. So it's one of a kind. We've had good data up from now. You'll see how good our data is on Friday for the actual product, and I think it's going to be a very good one. And America has about 75 million dogs. We're charging $150, $200. What we get of that will be outlined on the Capital Markets Day, but potentially incredibly lucrative and something we can scale up very quickly, given it's a very simple product and we have the key components produced now.
I've got a question here on the commercial arrangements for the veterinary product. Are you able to make any more comment, or would people need to go to that Capital Markets Day?
Come on Tuesday, but the margin is very high. The market is huge. There's nothing else out there. And our key opinion leaders and our team are extremely excited. So I think it'll ramp up during next year and should be very, very big in the next couple of years and extremely profitable.
Okay, next up. You've got a number of trials underway. Are you going to be needing to raise capital anytime soon? I know you did before, but how far does that see you through?
Yeah, so basically the money we have now, we have to the end of next year. We have a ATM, which uses bits and pieces when the market really runs on good days. So we have enough to get all of this done. Certainly the dog launch, if the COVID is the product launch for that, and continue these trials through the next year. We may end up raising a bit more because we're not profitable now. But the money we're raising now is to launch more and more different products, potentially in the blood cancer space, our lung and colorectal products. But considering our market cap is where it is, it's not. It depends on. We don't know what it is. We're not raising money at the moment, but none of the raises we've done have been a very big percentage of our market cap. They've always been in a range which is not overly dilutive. But yes, we will need to raise a bit more, but we're not doing it right now. Okay,
next up. What's the current ownership structure? Who are the main shareholders?
Yes, we've got quite a few institutions, very strong insider ownership. I think it's very fair to say the board and management are very all in. It's a very high percentage of my net worth. The board members have bought a lot of shares as well. And we do have a few very good institutions as well. So it's quite broad. We also have a reasonably strong retail following. So it's quite a good diverse mix.
Okay. You mentioned one of the trials is being held up, I think. Could you just give a bit more detail around that?
Yes. Every trial in the US in the colorectal space is not going forward today because they're not doing colonoscopies. So it's paused, I'd put it. Probably a better way of saying it. It's the Early Detection Research Network run with NIH money. They just paused. They're not collecting. Now the Taiwanese are collecting. The other trials, the COVID trials are collecting. The vet trial. We're still screening our dogs for cancer, just not ourselves. Interesting during the pandemic, but so the vet side's going forward very well. The other one, the Asian samples are. Just the only thing that has been paused is the colorectal in the US. But we'd expect that to start up as soon as they feel it's safe. But same for everybody in the US at the moment.
And you mentioned kind of dogs as being the first market or target market for the veterinary product, but it was applicable to any other animal. Obviously, everyone loves their dogs, but what would you see as being the next if it was applied to a different animal?
Yeah, I think the obvious one is cats. So the American, you probably don't know the American market, but it's dominated by Mars and IDEXX, very, very big companies. So we might license to one of those. We could move into cats very quickly. Obviously, some of the veterinary animals, things like horses, from the agricultural or racing, it's exactly the same. The interesting thing is, it's exactly the same kits as we've used in the human blood cancers. We have, it's kind of interesting when you look at spiritual psychologically, we have exactly the same components as just about every living thing. It's fascinating. And people say, why launch this during COVID, not one of the human cancers? Just really tough during a pandemic to launch a human cancer. But the vet space is still very much active. You can do much smaller trials, same price, nothing else out there, great collaborators, just makes perfect sense. And it's the vet test is a very simple test, therefore the margin is really good. So we just thought that's launching a vet one is just very much easier than launching a frontline human trial product now. So that's what we've done, and I think it's going to be a very good decision. We'll see how the sales go through the next few quarters, but we're very happy.
Lovely. Well, Cameron, thank you very much indeed for joining us this evening and taking part in the webinar.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time, and thank you, everyone.